Hello there, so we're going to be starting our build of Airfix's 1/42 Focke-Wulf FW190 A-8. We have 3 sprues and a 4th clear one, some instructions. I'm going to be building this hopefully clean, slight weathering, trying to bring out the panel lines, but I don't just want to cover it too much filth. I want to try and show what detail there is in there, get that to come through. First thing of course is going to be doing the cockpit. I'm not going to be having the pilot in there. Going to need to scratch build some harnesses and give it all a coat of paint, some dry brushing and some weathering. So let's first of all take off all that we need. So then, all the little pieces to make our cockpit tub. First of all, let's give them a clean up. Always good to clean up everything, even though the bits that aren't on show, because sometimes they won't butt together properly, and if the tub doesn't come together properly, the fuselage halves might not fit around it properly, and then you're going to be having seam lines all because of a little tab somewhere right in the middle of it where you can't get to. It's also a good practice to make sure it's all done nice and neat. Little tabs right between the seat bits, which is a silly place to put a tab. Just needs a little scrape. Now the problem we have here is that that doesn't look like that. There's no detail on the console because that gets added on with a decal later. Let's get gluing. Okay, that looks like those are raising up far too high. Lucky I drive for that, so obviously I thought those pedals seemed a bit large. I'm going to trim those bits off. Thought that was the case, but I didn't want to do it. That looks better, that looks a lot more like foot-sized pedals. That was actually quite a reassuring click in as well, which is a good sign for the first bit to go in. I'll put that in there, actually just pushes in and clicks in quite firmly without any glue. Of course, we're not going to trust that. I'm just going to dab some extra thin in the bottom. Hold that in that way. I was told in my Air Cadet days, not a joystick, it is a control column. Okay, so we do have detail on the side consoles, side there. So that's part 1 done. Let's get in part 2. There's a very, you probably can't even see it on the camera, a very small little gap there. Now that probably won't be a problem, but it might be due to not removing the tabs fully on the bottom there. It may not be a problem, but it might be a problem later on if that cockpit ends up being just 0.5 mm too tall, the fuselage halves might not go round. Probably wouldn't make any difference, but it's worth a little rub with a file now. Could potentially save a bit of grief and an afternoon spent sanding down panel gaps. Right, that will do. Let's see, and I think the next part is now to get a bit of paint on this. I've just removed the fuselage halves from the sprue. I've got to say the sprue gates are really quite large. I don't know if you can actually see the sprue gate itself is actually raised, meaning that if these two halves come together, no matter how clean your sprue cutters are going to be, you're actually going to get a lump, and you can see there's actually quite a pretty large gap of well over 1 millimetre. So that's actually lumps coming from the sprue gate, which actually surprises me. I mean, very easy to remove with a file, but if anyone were to just take those off and just try to get that together, you're going to end up with a very, very big gap there. To be honest, it's not actually great at the front either. So before I do anything, I want to make sure those clean up, to make sure those go together nicely. Right then, so what I've done so far is to take bits off the sprue and build the little cockpit area. Jumped a little bit ahead and put the headrest and bracing on. Got that all together, just put a little bit of masking tape over the gun sight. Not too sure if I've got it in the right place. I've taken a few other bits off the sprue. The reason why is the interior, where it actually says it's 145 paint code in the instructions. 145, the paint that comes with it, is, well, actually, the paint that comes with it, let's just find it. Well, that says what 145 is, which to me is a light grey, when actually it should be RML 66, which is a black grey, and that's the standard interior for pretty much all Second World War Luftwaffe cockpits and internals. So what I've got is the Vallejo Luftwaffe colours, 1941 to the end of the war, and these ones pretty much have everything you need, RML 66. So whilst I've got this out, I'm going to give that cockpit a little bit of a spray, do the internals, whilst I've got the airbrush out. I actually got some pretty good detail in those wheel wells, and I mentioned it in the review in the unboxing, so it should actually take dry brushing and weathering quite well on those wheel wells. Now, it'd actually be quite easy to forget to do some of the things like the sidewalls on this bit. You're thinking about that part of the wheel well that you're looking into. But of course, you need to make sure that you do the part on the other side, because if you miss those out, that is going to be quite tricky to paint in later. So I'm just going to give this a whole go over with the RML 66, and then once that's had that on, I can then go in with the dry brushing and detail it up, put in some harnesses, paint the pedals, and try to weather it, make it look a bit more of the centrepiece. The idea is the cockpit's going to be open with this with no pilot in, so anyone looking is going to be able to hopefully pick out some of those details. Actually, some of this probably would have been a lot easier, especially with the seats, to have done it before construction, given it a coat of paint. Sometimes the airbrush can get in and the airflow will make it stick, but I just need to work at this one, just make sure I don't leave any bare plastic. Okay, so we've got a bit of paint on there. I'll make sure the Vallejo paint dries properly before weathering up and getting the decals on. Okay, so let's have a go at making some straps. What I've done is I've actually got some lead wire. This is quite cheap. I got it from eBay. It's fishing weight wire. I got two different thicknesses. What I've actually done is to take some of this off, and then just with something round, a pen or something, you can roll it out so it actually goes flat. The Pilot seems to have a 5-point harness, so it's straps that go over the shoulder, around the waist, and then another strap that comes up through the legs. So I'm going to see if I can try to replicate that. Yeah, for the shoulder straps, I'm going to go for, that's probably going to be about 8mm. The waist ones are going to be less, so that's probably going to be about 5mm. For the one that would come up between the legs, that's going to be probably just less than those. So I've done those about, two 8mm roughly, two 6mm for the waist ones. Call that one about half a cent, about 5mm. I'm just going to pop these in the sort of actually sticking up position. I can actually, if I do this so they're sticking up, it's going to look a little bit odd whilst weathering, but then I can actually put them into the position that I want to put them in once it's done. So this should be quite malleable. Just a little blob of just CA glue I've got there. Again, I'm not completely sure where the fixing points for these are going to be. They may not be strictly accurate once done. However, it's going to be much more realistic than not having anything in there. I won't worry about buckles at the moment. Main thing I'm going to do is to get them painted, get them in place. Once the cockpit's weathered, I can then fold them into position, try to make sure I've got the right size, and then add the buckles on as the final thing. I'm sure that's actually going to add a little extra something to the kit. Let's get those painted with a little something like a XF68 NATO brown. I'm going to use the brush that came with the kit. It's actually got quite a nice little point on there. Right, well, I am pleased with how those are going to look. Again, not perfect, but for something that has literally taken minutes, I'm going to be pretty pleased how that's going to be. Right, so we also want to try and get those instrument panels on as well. Just got some water. Get that one in there. Get a little bit of a metal colour on the pedals. I'm going to give them a blob of aluminium because they're going to be so buried down on there. You're not going to see them at all if they are black. And then once that's done, I can give the whole lot a bit of a dry brushing, pick out any more details, then get the straps to conform. Okay, so I've just added a little bit of silver onto the pedals. Let's now have a go at dry brushing. Now I've got an old brush that I have which is for metallics, and for this I'm using the Mr. Colour number 8, which is silver. It's a very silver, and this is a brush that I only use for metallics, hardly anything on there. And the idea with dry brushing is that you have a very, well, hardly any on the brush, But the idea is just by flicking it over, you might get one or two, each flick might just put one or two minor droplets of paint on the surface, and by going over multiple times, you're just very lightly just going to pick out detail as they stick on. If you actually do it so that as you're doing it, you can actually see with each brush over the paint build up, then you've got too much paint on. Okay, and as I'm doing it, I'm just starting to see some of the detail on those control consoles just start to pop out a little bit. Let's do it around the top of the chair just to get a bit of wear there. That's one of the reasons why I'm using silver as well, because as the paint would scratch off, it would start looking like it's chipped some of it off and showing the metal underneath. It also gives it that more metallic sort of look and feel. We're just accentuating the details. And now, that cockpit has now got a much more worn look. All of those bits that were looking quite dark and just drab and dark and grey, which is exactly what the colour is, it's dark grey, now just starting to come together, and suddenly those straps really adding to it, so I'm pleased with that. I think just add a little bit of silver. Impression of straps, the impression of buckles. I am going to call that cockpit done. Right, so let's start trying to button her up. Those sprue gate tabs, because that has meant that I haven't got a gap there, or not much of a gap. I think I'm going to need to be doing a bit of filling and a bit of filing. Just this front section, the tabs that they've got on there, quite thin and just doesn't really seem to be coming together perfectly round. Yeah, as I squeeze one bit together, enough of it pops out, so I squeeze the bottom cowling together and makes the fuselage at the top come apart. I should have just worked my way up in sections. Ah, that's better. You can see those harnesses. They are actually very much looking the part. Also just noticed on here, need to drill a couple of little holes out of here. There's also a couple of fittings, which is that one there and that one there. Seems a bit odd, but I actually need to put a few bits on. That'll be those little bumps there, and most probably, yes, the rack for the bomb. But if that's the case, and those are standard fittings, I don't know why they have not just done in the first place. Let's drill those out. It's just with a 0.8 drill.